Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 23rd, and market just closed here, and exactly as expected. Pushed up to new highs. Continuation of magenta, and still 0.59 from a MBI short on the way, not going anywhere. Cyan is under red, and green is above cyan as well. So all of it's congruent and exactly as we expected. Not exactly what you would call high momentum or anything like that. It's just uh, nobody attacking to the downside at this particular stage. And you have to have a reason for it. I mean, we don't see any political events or anything that's causing anyone to be that alarmed from an NQ standpoint. Literally the same, even worse, 0.39 from a short standpoint. And you can see the separation from the cyan under red much deeper. And shakeout making new high. Now we do see positive extreme with that, so that will get refilled. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some fill back into it at any point. Obviously, we'll see that intraday. It gets pretty straightforward from that standpoint. Treasuries is a nothing. Fed's sort of out of the equation again. They're not going to do anything for quite some time, and we'll see where the numbers go. Oil's still stuck in that same range, so that becomes the inflationary base. With it not moving, prices really aren't going to move a whole lot. So from your rate of inflation increase is going to be zero, but that doesn't mean inflation in general is zero. It just means that it's not accelerating, and that's positive. The euro was very excited by all of nothing, and yeah, more signs of it though. You see Porsche, suffering huge losses from their EV push, which has driven Volkswagen down. Manufacturing in Germany is losing a couple 100,000 manufacturing jobs every quarter now, and it's getting to be ridiculous from an economic standpoint. They're not going to be able to sustain that much longer because that, when you start losing that, it just starts to escalate and snowballs. Higher social costs are already into deficit spending. So, but that means they're going to be borrowing more, and they'll be able to do it as the big leader of the euro bloc. And that's more euros. And you can see what that has done as far as gold, skyrocket, no shock at all with that. We're not going to be surprised to see it at 5,000. Things continue as they are, it'll only start to continue its acceleration. So just be ready for that one. Now, crypto took a little hiatus off that news. Bitcoin coming back down. It was in a little bit of a weak spot here, but still right within the 23% range. So this is sort of that baseline dip. We'll see if it's going to be on a higher uh, DOC red pivot if when that happens. It's not in that stage yet, but so there was a little bit of a fade back from there, and I think that continued also with ETH. And so ETH has a bit more filling back to do. It's got to come all the way back down to the 38 range. Be normal behavior, nothing out of the ordinary. Intraday, we had a little brief sell in the overnight session, prepping things, and then as soon as the market opened, boom, you had the crossover of magenta over yellow, and then took off, and then you cut a little bit of short covering here with the rising shorts into that, and they got swallowed up. Now that they're gone, and price will fade back a little bit. We had a couple of positive extremes right in the middle of it, all the way down to the 37 range, which is not far off. Intraday, well, this was kind of fun. I was playing a little intraday action there. Um, Perfect setup. We ended up with this situation where the MBI white started to climb, and then we had the pivot starting to take place right here. But even more so, you had, look at that, DOC. When steel is that far underneath, all you're looking for is the pivot back up, because once it gets back over 13.5, uh, you're in a bullish move. It's a long way to get past cyan at that particular stage, and sure enough, that was the right call on that stage. Earlier in the day, you had even this one. We had the beginnings of new shakeout turnaround, and right here, MBI white had already led, but magenta was already over, and so once it crossed over white, took advantage of that setup at that point. So, it ended up being a nice double header, but just to point out how simple these setups become, and it's just a matter of taking advantage of them. I mean, even if it was still in it, but you could have taken advantage of this one as well, right? Coming through here, same situation. Steel under the 13 coming up above, and then likewise you end up with a partial dip there that didn't last long. So that gives you the indication when you get that dip that's solid below, it's the return back up. I always call that negative 7.5 to 13 is sort of like a no man's land. I hate even seeing green crossing red in that zone because it's like I call it, it's like a no spark. It doesn't have any energy to it. There's no dramatic shift. But you can see the steel crossing back above cyan on that dip here, and that's led to a little bit of a pullback up into it. But overall, it's the broader trends that you're looking for. I mean, in this particular case, you got a full shakeout reset. Whereas here we were already starting in the ascension. From here, you already had an ascension, and so usually you look for that second run coming up, and it was already built into the setup with the clean steel dip. So just thought I'd throw that one in there so you can see how that would work intraday, and you can still works the same way, like 50K, 25, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. It's just repeats itself because it's an understanding of the relationship between what's taking place and how that crossover matters, and particularly when you have the MBI white short rise having that magenta over, it just becomes very clean, simple, not a whole lot to do with it. Yeah, it's all good. Anyway, that's the long and short of it for a Monday. Pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty clean. No complaints. So we'll just keep playing that volatility as it continues to go across. And, the more people get frightened about how overbought they think everything is, the higher things go. And that's just because, that counteraction becomes short cover fodder. And that usually drives things, and then there's a certain point at which they just stop trying, and when they stop trying, that's usually when market has trouble sustaining stuff, and then it starts over again. You always got to catch people on the wrong side of the situation. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll put it on the team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.